Okay, this is a good one. You guys are gonna like this. Okay. Okay. Ka-chow! Welcome to the Sunday Movie Marathon. How are we all doing on this fine morning?
You can definitely tell you've been watching the Cars marathon lately.
Poor man.
I've been watching a lot of Pixar movies, and at a certain point, they just get bad.
Yeah.
Cars 2 is among those that get really bad. Like, you got
What movie are you up to now?
Finding Dory now. I'm finding ways to put it off. I just can't be bothered with it.
Mate, you should try watching Finding the WAP. Better film.
Sure it is.
That's what I've heard. I've never found the WAP, so I wouldn't know.
Maybe one day. Maybe one day
Chris,
you'll find the WAP.
Chris, have you ever found the WAP?
Yeah, of course, man. It's just a rite of passage as a person.
As a person.
When I say WAP, we are thinking of wonderful ass people, yeah?
Yeah.
Cool. Don't want anyone thinking what about some other things.
No way, man. Not here. Not on the Sunday Movie Marathon.
What's the word that people call themselves that begins with C, where they don't do anything?
Cool.
No, but yeah.
Anyway, this week we had a theme. We haven't had a theme in a while. We thought, let's just get a theme in. And it's animated movies. So, we've got some animated movies that we watched, and we're going to discuss.
I was
Chris,
surprised.
take it away.
I was surprised that we all chose completely different style animated movies, which I'm pretty happy about.
Yeah, I was hoping
Yeah.
that would be the case, to be fair.
Thank God.
Yeah, I was half expecting you both to pick like Pixar movies because Max is on a little binge of it at the moment. Does it fantastic?
No, I mean,
But no,
if I'm going to do that, then it's going to be like, I'm going to try to do the movie that I'm up to, and I don't really want to recommend Finding Dory. I don't want to do it.
No. I was going to pick a stop motion film, but I was pretty sure Max was going to pick Coraline, so I decided not to.
I completely
did you
forgot that
know?
South Park is an animated movie
Indeed it is.
Yeah.
because I would have chose South Park.
Save it for the
maybe
next one.
time.
2022, here we come.
Yeah. Yeah, starting off the recommendations, I picked the film Soul, the new Pixar movie that was added on to Disney Plus on Christmas Day. I watched it last week for the first time and really loved it. It's about a middle school music teacher who loves jazz. His name's Joe. And after getting this gig, he accidentally dies. He falls down a manhole and dies. And then he ends up in the great beyond, where he is basically paired up with a soul called 22, who is lost, doesn't really want to go to Earth or anything because she has no reason to do it. So they go on a journey together as they find their purpose in life and discover the wonders that the world contains. So what did everyone think of Soul?
Well, I'll tell you what, as someone who's been watching a lot of terrible Pixar movies as of late, this was a breath of fresh air. It was really good. They've definitely upped their game, I think. This is definitely the best Pixar movie that we've seen in a long time. I've not seen like all of them yet, but as far as I can tell, this is a massive step up.
Sorry, I was just doing the YMCA. Yeah, no. Like, sorry, I'm not used to being awake this early in the morning and so doped up on sugar. I don't know, considering I think the last time I watched is Shrek Pixar or is that DreamWorks? That's DreamWorks,
No, that's
isn't it?
DreamWorks.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I have no idea what the last Pixar movie is that I've watched. And I'm not a real big fan of them. I don't really like Toy Story, and that's the only thing that I know they do. But yeah, Soul was pretty good. I would watch it again, like sometime next year, and I wouldn't say no to watching it. But Yeah, really good movie. The ending, which we'll get into, I'm sure, as the review goes on, was very heartwarming. Little bit of a message at this trying time that we definitely need in the middle of a pandemic.
Yeah, the film just generally is quite heartwarming. There's a lot of existential messages about life in there that I really enjoyed. It reminds me a little bit of Inside Out in how it like discusses life and the human experience, but I think that film does it in such a basic way, and I think this one does it in a much more resonant and relatable way. I definitely prefer basically everything this film does over that one.
I would say that Inside Out is it's a lot more reductive than this, and at the same time, I think that the themes of Soul are ones that I've not seen touched upon in a Pixar movie before, especially with
Death.
movies that try to do it, that like try to go for these existential themes, like Inside Out tried to do with making characters' emotions, but this one, I think it doesn't. I wouldn't say that it does anything that I've not seen before ever, but for Pixar, I would say it's a good improvement.
Yeah, no, this isn't like a super unique or different film, but I think everything it does so incredibly well that I never had a problem with it kind of being like other things.
Well, like I said to you guys when I first started watching it, the animation for this film was incredible. I think the last Pixar movie that I watched briefly was like a Toy Story when I was around my brothers and his nephew was watching it, and pardon me, sorry. Yeah, the animation quality has just jumped up so much. They're really good. Made the viewing experience a lot more enjoyable.
Yeah, they've definitely nailed 3D animation here. Like, it's some of the most detailed and creative 3D animation that I've ever seen. Like, just them walking through like the streets of New York, it's like it looks real. Like, it's really incredible.
That's literally what I thought at some places. I was like, I know I'm watching an animated movie, but there are some parts where I'm like, that just genuinely looks like it's just the real skyline of New York. And I also looked the animation for the Jerrys, if you remember them.
Yeah, the Jerrys and Terrys. They're just like 2D line work. It's really cool.
Yeah, I love the different styles of animation they go through, because on Earth you've got this very sort of, I don't want to say typical Pixar animation, but it's sort of in that vein, even though it looks a lot better than I think a lot of other Pixar movies do. And then when you get to The Great Beyond, Joe goes to, well, as he dies, he goes to this sort of like conveyor as he's going into this white nothingness, and that's just sort of like a void, but I really enjoyed it. And then it goes to like before The Great Beyond, so when no one's been born at all, and it's just like really blue and like it's quite like a little blurred at the edges, and I really like that.
It's called
The Great Before. And then they go into like these like different places where it's just line work on like black backgrounds, so it's like got more of a 2D feel to it. So I really like how they were able to just mix and match these different styles of animation and have it congeal so well.
I love the animation part where like he's fallen off the conveyor belt and it's like going from black and white and like inverting on itself, and that was really good.
Yeah, that bit is like all 2D and stuff. It looks really good. It's definitely some of the most creative animation I've seen Pixar do. It's nice to see them take risks and try something new in the animation world. Like their last film, Onward, is just like the most generic looking Pixar film possible, so it's nice to see him do something different with it.
Yeah, I've not seen Onward yet, but I'll get around to it. I really like how they not only use different styles of animation, but they use like each animation style in a different way. So it's like, I really love the character of is it Terry, that little Kiwi guy?
Yeah,
who was like just trying to find Joe because he's like off the record or something. He's an anomaly, and he's just going around saying little Kiwi things. I love the Kiwi accent as well. But then like there's a scene where I think Joe's falling through the void and he's trying to get somewhere, I forget where, and then Terry like reaches in and like makes like some squares or something. That's the thing, I don't really know how to describe it because it's so like abstract. So he like reaches in and then he draws a square and then he pulls them out by the square. It's like really creative. I love that.
Yeah, for a Pixar film, there's a surprising amount of like abstract ideas that they're presenting here, like especially in the first section where they're in the great beyond and then the great before. It's really interesting to see them do something really unique and unlike anything they've done before. I think that's kind of what made me love the company in the first place. Like in the 2000s, you watch a Pixar film, you're gonna get something creative and unlike anything else in animation, and it's good to see them kind of go back to that.
Sorry, I've lost my track of thought because Connor keeps crinkling his sweets.
I was just eating a whole bag of Haribros for breakfast.
Yeah, brilliant. Oh no, that was the thing. So like, I compare this to like Inside Out because some of the themes are quite similar, but I really enjoy how, at least in Inside Out, they like literally go through this sort of void thing, and they're like, oh, we're in the abstract thought now. We're being abstract, and like the animation changes, and they're like, oh, we're entering into an existential type of different style. And I'm like, all right, but in Soul they don't have to say it; they just do it, and I really enjoy that a lot more.
Yeah, definitely.
I would say a lot of the show don't tell type of thing.
I like that the film's protagonist is just like a 40-year-old black man. Like for Pixar, that's such a like a weird choice to have as their lead character, because normally they have like a fish or a monster or a car or something like that. So just to have like just a 40-year-old man, I think it's really cool. And I think they did a great job of displaying black culture, because in animation, black stereotypes are quite a troubled thing, especially in older animation history. Like you look at old Disney films and stuff, and those films don't fly today. So it's nice to see them do something that's related to black culture in animation, it to feel natural and not feel tacky or outdated at all.
I think the majority of the I'd say cast, majority of the people that were in the film were black, weren't they?
Yeah, especially on Earth, like all the human characters are just black. I don't think there's a single white person at all, which I think's really interesting.
There's like that one guru guy who's like spinning the sign.
Yeah, played by Graham Norton.
Was it really? Actually?
Yeah.
Graham Norton. Wow.
Didn't recognise that. I didn't pick up on the voice.
No.
Bloody hell. But talking about like Graham Norton, what do you guys think of the voice acting for the characters?
I think it's all great. I especially love Jamie Foxx as Joe. I think he's really, really good in the film. I like Tina Fey as 22 as well, and I really love Richard Ayoade as, I think it's one of the Jerrys? Yeah. He's really funny in the film.
Yeah. Is that the guy from IT Crowd?
Yeah.
Yeah.
As soon as I heard his voice, I was like, this is pretty good. I've not really seen him in much other than IT Crowd and like a few interviews that he does with that dickhead from Channel 4. But other than that, I've not really seen him in much, but he's very good in this role. I liked I think there's just he can just sort of bring that like silly but seriousness to a role.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, he's
definitely.
A great comedian.
He balances out
well
humor and emotion well.
Yeah, definitely. But I didn't realise Jamie Foxx was what's the name? The guy for Joe.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's really great.
That is the same guy that played Electro in The Amazing Spider-Man 2, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he was Django.
Probably that's
Django
why I don't
Unchained.
recognise him, because I just literally phased that movie out of my mind because it was horribly bad.
Yeah, it sucked.
Not Django Unchained, Amazing Spider-Man 2. They both fucking sucked, in all fairness.
Yeah, Django was.
I'm going to give them 2 spiders out of 100, just FYI.
Nice.
Yeah, I did enjoy his performance. I love
Pre-review.
just like an animated voice acting performance that you stop recognizing that it's so and so actor's voice and you just get lost in the character. I think it was done really well. for basically everyone, apart from maybe Richard Ayoade. I always thought, yeah, that's Richard Ayoade. But he's still good.
He's got such a distinct voice though, doesn't he? So
Yeah.
Yeah.
like even for someone that hasn't seen him in anything since the IT Crowd and a few bits here and there, like literally recognised him instantly. But that's the guy with the afro glasses.
I love the music in the film, composed by Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross from Nine Inch Nails. I love all of their scores. But what were you gonna say?
Yeah, I was gonna say that it's mainly like a jazz soundtrack, really, isn't it? Because the characters' interest
Yes.
in the movie.
So when they're in like the Great Beyond and the Great Before, it's all like glitchy and electronic, which is kind of what you expect from that duo. But when they're on Earth, it's all jazz music, and I love the way that they switch between the two. I think all the music they composed fits the scenes really well, and there's a lot of really cool vibey stuff in there.
Yeah, I think the biggest compliment you can give it is that, especially when you think of like glitchy electronic music and jazz, they're not necessarily something you would mesh well together. So I think it's a pretty good compliment that you can go from scene to scene, from one extreme to the other, and it not really take away or take you out of the movie. It just flows very well. But
Definitely.
I always found myself more immersed in the any part of the movie where we're in like the Great Beyond or the Great Before, whatever you want to call it. I thought them parts were like I've not really seen many Pixar movies, so I have no idea what this compares to or what it's like compared to the other Pixar movies. But just like the whole like Great Beyond itself, I don't know. I was every time the movie like it got back into that part of the movie, I just found myself like, sitting up a little bit more and getting a little bit more into it than I did like when it was the Earth scenes. I don't know. It was just such a really good combination of atmosphere, visuals, and voice acting. It just like sort of sucked me into it.
So obviously Joe has to. Well, he's going to the Great Beyond, but he doesn't really want to die. It's this whole thing about him trying to cheat his own death. So he sort of masquerades as this mentor figure for a soul who's called 22, who hasn't yet gone down to Earth. She doesn't want to go down to Earth. So I just wanted to know what you guys thought about her character, the little baby soul.
I really enjoyed
I liked her.
And I'll let you go first, Chris. Go for it.
A big part of the film is obviously about, I'd say, like halfway through, they manage to get back onto Earth, and she accidentally goes into Joe's body, and Joe accidentally goes into a cat's body, and they're like kind of like walking around together trying to work out how to go back so he can be in his own body and she can go back to the Great Before. And I think that whole section of that's just her like going around in Joe's body, seeing the world as someone who hasn't seen it before, and like seeing all the beauties that are in it, just like the things that we take for granted, just like tiny little things about the Earth, and how it makes her realise just how incredible the world can be. I thought that stuff was really touching and moving. I really loved all of that stuff.
Yeah, definitely. I think the part that I sort of reminisced with the most was when they're like outside the jazz hall, I think it is, and like she's in his body and he's just sitting down on the steps and he just like pulls out his half-eaten donut and it's like catches like a leaf or something, and he just sort of looks up and it's like golden hour at the moment. It's like the sun's peeling through these autumn trees, and it's just like, yeah, I guess the whole preface with this movie is to just sort of like just appreciate the smallest things in life, like Chris said. And like it's the ending line from Joe was like she was like, what are you gonna do with your life? And he's like, I don't know, but I'm gonna enjoy every moment of it. I think that was pretty good. But 22 as a character, I really liked the dynamic between her and Joe. I liked the fact that he was a cat, and it would go from them two talking and understanding to each other to then like someone else's perspective on it, and it's just the cat meowing at him.
Yeah,
it was great dynamic. I really liked that sort of through seeing 22 inside his own body, Joe sort of learns that maybe he's been a bit too self-involved. Like, she goes to the barbers and, like, because they need a haircut because he fucks up his hair. And then that was a great scene too. But then they go to the barber and 22 asks the barber about his life. And then the barber just talks about his life and they have like a really great conversation about like just life and like the existential parts of it. And then Joe gets out. He's like, "Oh, no." The barber says, "I'm glad that you asked me about how I was doing. We usually just talk about jazz." So Joe sort of realizes that he's been maybe a bit too self-involved, a bit too selfish. So I do like that there's that learning curve in his arc.
Yeah, I loved that barbershop scene as well. I think that might have been my favourite bit in the film.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was a very good scene. This movie, when you like for a kids movie as well, it's pretty heavy.
Definitely, really heavy themes.
Like I can understand like this is the thing that I can say when like from the Pixar movies that are Lilo and Stitch Pixar.
No.
Oh, never mind then. Right. So what I was gonna say is from like the Pixar movies that I can vaguely remember, they're I don't know what it's like now, but they're pretty good at like making films that both adults and kids can enjoy. I know I'd grill Max for watching. Well, apart from Cars, I don't see how that could be a movie for adults. But like something like this, whereas like we're like what, all 25 years old, other than you, Chris. And like I watched this movie and I was like, oh, do you know what? Maybe like when I'm like out like, going for a walk next time, I may just like sit down and appreciate like what's around me and what I've like taken for granted like for about 5 minutes or something. And I thought the message of the film was just really good.
I think it's very good for kids. It's like I say, it's nothing that I've not seen before, but I think to communicate these types of themes in maybe the type of movie that you'd associate with maybe being a bit more adult, you know, to put it into the context for a child, I think children can grasp these themes. I think there's a bit more for adults to take away, but I wouldn't say that kids would be like so devoid of intelligence that they wouldn't understand anything that's going on. I really
don't know.
It's an important movie for them.
They'll probably just see like, oh, there's a cat talking. That'll be it.
No, I don't think so. Maybe if they're like 5 years old, but you know, I don't think this movie is for 5-year-olds. I think it's for maybe like younger kids and teenagers. And obviously adults can get something out of it as well.
In some ways, I'm not even really sure this is like a film necessarily for kids, like because there's just so much heavy things that they're discussing. I feel like in a lot of ways it's kind of like just like a kid-friendly film for adults.
How many people do you think were watching this movie? And you know when he's talking to Joe's in the cat's body and he's talking to 22 when they're on the subway, and she's like, "Yeah, what is this place?" And he's like, "Oh, this is the subway." It's like he's like, and she bumps into that guy and he's like, "Oh, this place does that." She's like, "Why do people go here?" He's like, just talks about how like they're on their phones or like it's just like mind-numbing commute to work, to an everyday life, just to repeat over and over again. And then by the end of the movie, when he finally gets this gig, or performs at this gig that he's been wanting to do in this jazz club for God knows how long, he walks out and he's like, yeah, it's not fulfilling whatsoever. And I think that's...
Maybe that it's not fulfilling whatsoever, but it's not like, you know, he's just been through like the great beyond and back, and now he's done this like little tiny thing, and it was great, it was entertaining for him, but he feels like is that all there is, you know?
Yeah. Well,
I thought this was going to be the beginning of my life, but it's not. Because it's just a gig at the end of the day. It's just like a little thing that you can do. But that's sort of, I think, the message that the movie tries to put forward is that life is full of these little things that you can enjoy. And it doesn't have to be like one little thing or like one big thing. It's just the beginning of everything, and that's everything forever.
Well, yeah. He assumes by getting this gig that his life would be like he's found his spark, his life would be complete, he's got his purpose. And what I meant by not being fulfilled is just that alone would not, like, just didn't fulfill him as much as he thought it was going to. Like, it would just instantly make his life better in a sense. I'm not saying his life's bad, but you know, like we all thinking like, oh, if we get this many views on a YouTube video, if we get this many downloads on a song, or if we earn this much money, or if we get lose this much weight, you'll think you'll be finally fulfilled and whatever, and you get there and you're just like, I'm the exact same as I was before. I'm just 2 steps ahead.
Yeah, that's a big thing with the movie where Joe's trying to find 22 a spark. She needs to find some sort of passion or hobby. And throughout, I was like, really? In real life, people don't need a passion. People don't need this. But they do address that at the end when it's sort of wrapping up. And they're like, well, you don't, she's like, why can't walking be my spark or something? And he's like, well, walking can't be your spark. That's just normal human stuff. But it's that's the whole point of it, is that it is normal human stuff, but it's a small thing that makes up life. And there's Richard Ayoade has a line where he says, humans, your purposes, your meanings of life, so basic. It's yeah, it is basic when compared to this grand journey that he's been on. It's basic to think, yeah, my whole thing is music and jazz. And obviously we're people who love music and we understand where he's coming from when he says that music is his entire life. But at the same time, it's not an entire life, is it? It's just one thing.
It's one aspect, yeah. And we all like jazz.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
We're a bunch of jazz boys. Although when
jazzing around.
When I was watching this movie, because I think me and Max were watching it at the same time, he was a little bit ahead of me. So I was watching this movie, and when is it the cat or Joe starts scatting, and it just in the subtitles just says scatting, I just burst out laughing. I was like, I was gonna send a picture in the group chat, and then I looked and you had already done it, and I was like, oh, for fuck's sake.
That was the best part of the movie. I said, that's exactly what this movie needed. Just a bit of scatting. I love that. I like when they go into the beyond, and they go into this sort of different place in it, where it's very dark blues, a lot of vast space, and there's just these things, these big dark navy blobs, and that was kind of creepy in a way.
Yeah, people that have lost passion for life.
Yeah, they've lost their passion or something, and it was kind of creepy in a way. I thought it was very eerie, just this one blob saying, make a trade. I was like, what the hell? And he runs after them, and I was like, oh god, that's kind of creepy. But I really enjoyed that in an existential type of thematic way.
Thought maybe that could have been a metaphor for mental health and depression and stuff. How they're souls that just have no passion for life and just don't want to go on anymore.
Well, that'd be fucking deep. The movie's heavy enough. But what I was going to say is, can we just take a minute to appreciate the animation that was on, that was in the sand in that area? It's fucking incredible.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So many, great, particle CGI.
Yeah, this is probably...
see, every grain.
Yeah, this is, definitely the best animated movie, in that animated style, that I've ever seen. But then again, I haven't really seen many, so...
I think Pixar are always trying to up the game in terms of animation. They're always trying to push the boundaries.
Pixar...
Maybe it's a mainstream studio, but they do. They do. It's just what they do.
Are Pixar the company that did The Incredibles?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You
I
finally
watched
got one of their films.
Yeah. I watched a video about them. Is it Violet, the daughter, in the film? Daughter?
Yeah.
About how meticulous they had to be with getting her hair, animating her hair. And she watched a video on, one of the most, what would you say? I don't know. But, yeah, I just watched a video on, them, talking about the animation for the hair in that film, for her hair in that film. Jesus Christ, that scared the shit out of me. And, remembering what that looked like compared to what this looks like, if that was hard, Jesus Christ, they probably had, I don't know.
Yeah, you look at, the cat, they would have had to have animated every single inch of its fur in the film.
Very, very good attention to detail for this film.
I remember when Brave came out, there was, a big thing about Merida's hair, and it's like you watch it now, and it still does hold up. It's just like really bouncy, and
Maybe
you can
she's
see
using
each
some
individual
killer
strand.
hairspray.
Must be. It's that Scottish spray. Yeah. But yeah, it's just really impressive.
Yeah, they're definitely sort of like paving the way for animation. I think like I said, I don't really watch a lot of animated films, but like they seem to be the ones that are always like sort of top of the list.
Yeah, it's a shame that we're not seeing more animated movies for adults nowadays, I think. At least not in like mainstream cinema.
We got Lilo and Stitch.
That's not an adult animation movie.
Yeah, it is.
It
The
also
one that
came
I
out
watched
like
was
15 years ago.
God, does that make you feel old?
A
Chris
little
was
bit.
like 2
little
when that
bit.
came out.
Actually, it came out. It came out 19 years ago. It's almost 20 years old.
Fuck me.
Mm.
Jesus. Do you know like Yu-Gi-Oh is like 25 years old or something, and Pokemon's 30? Yeah, it's crazy, innit?
But I think there's something about animation that makes that hold up. Like Lilo and Stitch still looks good today, but whereas if you look at something like a live action movie from maybe that time that tried to utilize a lot of CGI, it would not hold up at all.
This is the thing, right? I think animation, like you said, just does genuinely hold up a lot better, because I can watch a movie that was made in the 50s, for example, a French foreign film, and not enjoy it. But the amount of animated or like anime and animated shows that I've watched that aren't as old, but are like 80s, 90s, and I mean, I've got a whole collection of an anime which was made. I think the first one came out in like the late 80s. I just think, yeah, like I said, like you like with all the like bad CGI, bad like acting, like it's just
Yeah, I think there's something like Disney's early slate of animated movies in like the 50s or the 40s. I think about I really love the movie Alice in Wonderland from the 50s, and you can watch that and you can think to yourself, yeah, this does look kind of old, it does look of that time, but at the same time it's got a timeless quality to it as well.
I think that's the good thing with animated movies. You said it perfectly there. I think they're a lot more timeless than live action movies.
I guess it depends how the live action movies are made. Some of them do hold up really well.
Nope. Name me one.
Well, all right. Diabolique.
Never seen it. Is that the
No,
video game
you know.
on PC? Didn't a third one come out the other year?
Or I could think of something like Stalker, which came out in the 70s, and that still looks like you could release that today, and it would
Max,
be fine.
I just made a joke comparing your movie to Diablo. I think Chris got it.
Oh, right. I don't
did
know what
get
that
it,
movie is, so...
It's not a movie, it's a PC game.
Oh, well, there we go. Shows how much I know.
I don't have anything else to talk about this movie. I have anything else to talk about? Fuck me. If I don't make a lot of sense today, it's yeah. Sorry, I've had
we've gone
45
through all my
minutes
notes. So.
I'm good.
What are we gonna rate this movie out of?
Gonna
Gonna be shoes.
Cats.
Oh, should we name it? Give it out of scats, because there was a scatting scene.
Yeah.
I was
Absolutely.
gonna say soles, like the soles of a shoe, but then I remembered there's scatting in the movie. All right, Chris, this was your recommendation, so you take it away.
Yeah, I have a soft spot for these like really deep existential animated movies. That's why I love the film Anomalisa so much, and also It's Such a Beautiful Day, directed by Don Hertzfeldt, which this film actually kind of reminds me a little bit of. So this was just kind of straight up my alley, and I had an absolute blast watching it. I think I definitely loved it the most out of everyone here, and because of that, I'm actually going to give this 10 scats out of 10.
I'm giving it 11.
Oh shit!
Yeah, I really enjoyed it too. Glad to see Pixar pulling their thumb out of their arsehole for once.
Max,
Well,
we're
not
a
for once,
family-friendly podcast.
Sorry
Curb
about that.
the fucking language.
This is a family-friendly movie. Watch it with all the family. What else are you going to do? We're in lockdown right now. Just watch it. It's a good movie. Or don't. I mean, whatever. I'm not your mum. So, yeah, I really enjoyed it. Maybe sometimes the structure could feel a bit repetitive or like something that I'd seen before, some of the themes as well. But overall, I did really enjoy it. There was like a couple of bits and pieces that I felt kind of bored by, but only because I'd seen them before. Maybe if you were a kid and you saw this movie, it wouldn't really bother you. Or like maybe if you're an adult and you saw this and you didn't see as many movies as we do, then it wouldn't bother you as much. But it kind of did grate on me a little bit. But overall, yeah, very entertaining, very enjoyable, gorgeous looking movie, gorgeous animation, great performances. I'm going to give this 8 scats out of 10.
Jesus, we asked Max for a rating and he gave us an essay.
Just a wrap up.
I'm only joking, Max. I just wanted to get a laugh out of Chris. I will say this was a really good movie. I'm glad you recommended it. I'm not really a fan of most Pixar movies, but if they release anything like this again, I will definitely watch it. I liked the message behind the film. It is very, very heartwarming. Probably the most heartwarming film of the recommendations today. And I agree with everything both of you said. And I'm gonna give it a 7 scats out of 10.
Lovely.
Nice.
It was a very good movie. Very good recommendation, Chris. I'm glad you watched it before us and then decided to get us to watch it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like the laziest recommendation. It's like, what have I watched in the last few days?
I don't have to rewatch.
Can I recommend the Scatman John music video discography for my next recommendation?
Yeah.
If Chris can choose a fucking hour-long music video by Daft Punk, I can choose Scatman John's music videos.
Sounds good to me. Yeah, I decided to pick this film literally when it got to him going into the Great Before. As soon as that was happening, I was like, this is so good. So that was why I picked it.
Yeah, man. No, I'm glad. It was a very good experience watching the movie. I wasn't bored either. I wasn't watching the clock, waiting for it to tick down, which unfortunately happened for the first half hour of this next recommendation. But then I got into it.
Speaking of movies that Chris didn't bother to rewatch for this podcast, I recommended Coraline from 2009.
So Chris watched one.
Yeah.
Chris watched one movie and then decided to read the graphic novel of that movie instead of watching the other 2 recommendations.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I watched
And then we had
Soul
an extra
last
day.
week. I watched Coraline a couple months ago, and I've seen it
In
like
October.
5 or 6 times already.
I can't believe halfway through this movie she just dropped acid. Chris probably doesn't remember that because he hasn't watched it in a while.
Maybe you would have enjoyed it more on this watch, Chris. Who knows? You don't know these things.
Maybe you would have enjoyed it more if you dropped acid.
Maybe.
I don't know. I think that would have made it a lot more scary. I think that would have made it terrifying.
Do you know what? Towards the second half of this film, when it really got when shit got real, I was watching
Should
this,
Max
and I was like,
announce what the film is first?
He has.
Yeah, maybe.
Did.
No, I haven't.
You did.
No, I haven't.
You went.
No, I haven't.
Yeah, you said.
Yeah.
Talking
I said
about
it was
movies
Coraline,
that.
but I didn't say what it was about.
Oh yeah. I wasn't
I
going to
just
spoil
sat here
anything.
waiting to give a synopsis.
So
anyway, I'm just going to give a quick one. Don't worry about it. You can go on to your ramblings afterwards. Okay, this movie is from 2009. It's directed by Henry Selick, a great director. I don't know what he's doing right now, but he needs to come back.
He's working on something, apparently.
So yeah, it's a... Yeah, thank God. So this is a Leica stop-motion animated movie about a girl called Coraline. She doesn't really enjoy the world that she's in. She's sort of bored by it. And then she finds a little door in a new house that they've moved into. She goes through it. She enters into a different world where everything is much more vibrant, much more colourful, and the people have buttons for eyes. What did we think of this?
Well, like I said, the first half of this movie was pretty slow, considering that we've chosen slow-ish movies the past few weeks. I was like, this is fine. I'm getting into it now, so that's good. But I was noticing myself, like, flicking up, looking at the time, like, where we at? Can this just be over? And then it got into the second half, and I was like, do you know what? This is pretty good now. I was like, I understand why it had to be slow at the beginning part. And to carry on from what I was going to say earlier, watching the second half of this film, it was like, when I can remember being a kid and watching stuff like this and being absolutely shit scared. And then I watched Signs and got scared even more.
Yeah, this is a horror movie. It's definitely a horror movie, but it's like more of a family horror movie. So, you can sit your kids down in front of it and they'd be terrified by it, but I'm sure they'd enjoy it all the same. I did.
Yeah, Leica have done that a couple times now. They've like made horror films for kids essentially. Like you got this and Paranorman. There was also
Paranormal
like,
Ascendancy.
stop motion film. Yeah, that one. Yeah, I love this film. I know the first couple times I watched it, I was terrified. Like, came out 2009, so I was like 12 when it came out. And like every time I'd watch it, it would still like scare the shit out of me, even though I was like watching actual like horror movies and stuff around that time. There was just something about it I just found super creepy and unnerving. And even rewatching it when I did recently, it's still like a very atmospheric and dark movie, but I really enjoy the fact that it's like quite child friendly. Like you can still show it to a child and they'll be like creeped out and scared, but it's not like so like terrifying that it would like traumatize them or anything.
I think it's just like the standard for this sort of movie, really, though, isn't it? Like not in a bad way, but when you think of like movies that are, it's like, was it Max? Were you watching Toy Story 3 the other day, and you said about like one of the dolls being absolutely terrifying or something?
That whole film was terrifying.
That baby doll. Yeah, it's quite dark.
Yeah, it's just stuff like that, like. Yeah, just putting stuff like that in for the kids where it's like fucks with them, but not to the point where they're like can't sleep anymore.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Like it respects children and doesn't like talk down to them. Like it understands that children can watch these like dark, creepy and these dark films that have a lot of dark adult subject and themes, and they'll still enjoy it. I think that's what I like about Leica a lot, is that they don't talk down to kids. They understand that kids like something a bit more mature and less wholesome and family friendly, like a lot of kids' films are.
Yeah, it's a bit of a change for them, really, isn't it? Spice it up a little, add some more of the serious tones. But I think this film and the last film, Subtle, have something similar about them in the message that they're giving about like just appreciate what you have rather than trying to go for something that you think is going to make you happy.
Yeah, they do ride the line on that, like entering different worlds to sort of figure out some sort of arc to do with appreciating what you have. Yeah, it's definitely a good movie for kids. As I said, I don't remember being terrified by it when I was a kid. I think I've just grown to love it more as time has gone on. Obviously, like we talked about how great the animation was in Soul, and this is like a completely different medium for animating. This is like stop motion animation, and you can tell they just went all for it in this. They just, like, you can see the detail, you can see how gorgeous the colour palette is, the vibrant set design, just all these different characters. I've watched like behind the scenes footage of it, and like the amount of effort that goes into, like, because they got to move like fraction by fraction these things all at the same time in sync with each other, and take a picture and then do it all over again and take a picture, and like maybe they get like a couple of seconds in a day, so you can really tell.
Is this like similar style to what Wallace and Gromit is?
Yeah,
that's stop motion.
Stop motion.
Yeah, and then like made out of Play-Doh.
Yeah, like clay.
Yeah, I think they're made out of like plasticine clay.
Right.
Yeah, this is more like it's not clay, it's not plasticine. It's like, I forget what the material is, but it's like just solid objects that they're able to like move around with like their fingers.
Yeah.
Just so it's not like
Either
you don't
way,
get
like,
like the fingerprints like you do in
just-
Wallace and Gromit. So it's just a bit more solid.
But either way, like some of the movements that are done in this movie, with it being stop animation, it's just like it's so fluid. It's like when she picks up the snow globe at the beginning of the movie, like it was just such a, I don't know, it's just like it didn't look like it was stop motion. It was just it was quite incredible to see how fluid it was for what it is.
Yeah, so in a second, there's like 24 frames. That's just like the standard for films. So like they had to take 24 pictures just to create a second of film. And like this is 100 minutes long, the film. So it's like ridiculous how much work and effort must have gone into making that. Apparently they had 450 people working on the film at one point.
Yeah, there's a bunch of people who worked on this movie. You could almost like think that you wouldn't really be bothered with doing this if like you could probably half-arse it and whatever, it's just a kids movie. But they really do go the extra mile in trying to make something that's entertaining for everyone.
Yeah, but like the amount of like attention to detail that they have to do to make a film that looks as good as this, like just like little things like knitting like sweaters and stuff for characters and like building these small sets and stuff, and a lot of the objects and stuff were 3D printed, so they have to, you know, design it and then print it out and move it around. That attention to detail and the amount of work that goes into it is definitely on show in every scene of the film. Like, this is an incredible looking movie. This is one of the best looking stop motion films I think I've ever seen. It's like just a true testament to the amount of skill and talent that all the people behind the film have.
Yeah, I agree. You see like the behind the scenes footage, they've got like 100 copies of every single outfit. It's like insane. Just like, this outfit's a little bit ripped, this outfit's less ripped, this one's got mud on it, this one's different, like we got to change them up. Different character models as well. They've got like 50 character models for each character. I really enjoy the character design as well. They're all very different to each other, but they're all very memorable, and I think that the voice acting only enhances the memorability, if that's a word. They're all great. Like Coraline, she's got like the blue hair, it's very memorable. Everyone's calling her Caroline though in the real world. What did you guys think of, like, who are like your favorite characters?
What, from the movie?
No, from Soul. Yes, from Coraline.
Probably Joe. I don't know. I thought the kid that looked like the angry kid was pretty funny. He occasionally showed up, but like, who else are you gonna say? It's obviously gonna be Coraline, isn't it? Like, they were all good.
I love the retired burlesque dancers.
Spink
April
and
Miriam, played by Jennifer Saunders and Dawn French, who like worked together a lot. They have like a really famous sketch show called French and Saunders.
I was gonna
it's
say,
really cool for them to be together.
Didn't they win an award for that show?
Probably.
Yeah.
It's like a very big show.
Yeah.
Obviously, Dawn French then went on to do Vicar of Dibley, and Jennifer Saunders went on to be in Shrek 2.
Yeah. Incredible movie.
Yeah, I think those characters are so funny to watch. I love when they get into the fake world where they're like actually performing again. They're full of energy and they're singing all these songs that, it's just really vibrant and fun. Although I don't really enjoy the songs, I think the performance is just like so vibrant and exciting. It's such a huge contrast to the darker nature of the real world, where they're like can barely walk and they've got loads of all their dogs like stuffed and put on the wall.
Yeah, I did get into like the theatre of like the other world. All the dogs are sitting in the theatre chairs, having a great time.
I did find it creepy when they were performing their circus show, and they just like unzip themselves.
Mm.
Other
And then the younger versions of themselves
come
came out. Of
out.
it. That's a great,
Yeah.
great scene.
I was like, if I was a kid, I would have watched that and thought, like, what the fuck? That would have freaked me out, probably. But
And you see you basically see one of the characters like naked.
Yeah.
Like, she's got like little things covering up her nipples, and
she
that's about it.
says that in the movie. She comments on it, doesn't it? I was surprised that they swore in it as well. I'm pretty sure they said crap at one point, didn't they? Or shit.
Rat
Yeah.
crap.
Yeah.
They say crap. Crap's not a swear word in America, I don't think.
Well,
It's not looked at as conservatively here.
I'm surprised
as
those guys don't even like saying the word cunt. Honestly.
here. Yeah. Well, there we go.
Can't describe to you how funny it was when I was over there and just said the word cunt and everyone looked at you like you just kicked a dog or something. But besides that, like, I don't know if you guys saw my messages last night. She went to bed quite early as I was like sending these messages about the voice actors. The amount of voice actors that I recognised in this movie from like other movies after checking the IMDb page for it. It was the little girl from War of the Worlds. You had the guy from John Wick and Pirates of the Caribbean. Yeah, you had Jennifer Saunders. Who else was there? The cat, Keith Davids, as Max said the other night as well.
Yeah.
Like,
I love
Yeah, he's in
Keith
like
David.
everything.
yeah, it's just
love him. He's got a great voice.
It's just, I think it was a really good cast for this movie, and I think they played the characters very well and fit the characters. Every time Coraline screamed, all I had was flashbacks to fucking War of the Worlds whenever she would scream in that movie, and I was like, oh, come on.
Yeah. I do think Dakota Fanning as Coraline does a very good job, though, encapsulating the character. I did see like behind the scenes of her recording the voice for Coraline, and I think Henry Selick managed to work really well with every actor, like because they've got like quite a varied cast, and you know Dakota Fanning was like a child when they were recording this,
Yeah,
so it just worked really well with her.
She was only a year older than us. So she's like 94 she was born, so if Chris was 13 at the time, she would have been around like 14, 15, so yeah, pretty young.
Yeah.
Especially for voice acting as well.
Yeah. Terry Hatcher as the mother and the other mother was like amazing, I thought. She carries this like really soft, subtle, but eerie kind of tone to her voice that's like really creepy when they want it to be.
Was there a different voice actor for both mums, or was it the same?
I think it was the same.
Yeah, it's the same.
Yeah. Because if so, then like playing the same character two different ways, I wouldn't necessarily would you say it's the same character. I think it's definitely a testament to her abilities as a voice actor to be able to play both characters that are supposed to be the same in a sense, but portray them so differently.
Yeah, because in the real world, she's like basically lifeless and just kind of talks like a normal person. But in the fake world, she's like much more bright and full of life, and there's a lot of passion in like everything she says.
Yeah,
it's like both her and her father, or Coraline's father, they're both like incredible.
Maybe we need to take this podcast into the other world to get a bit of passion into it, eh?
Yeah, maybe.
That was it.
She does like a lot of. There's like a lot of moments where she has to be like a lot more forceful with how she delivers lines, like very aggressive. So I think she does balance that well with the more like calmer tones when she's like introducing herself to Coraline, or like when she's trying to act like a bored mother in the real world. I really enjoyed her. Yeah. Another one I enjoyed was Ian McShane as Bobinski. He's like, here's the thing with like his character design. I don't know if you guys noticed it, but when they design these characters, they're like cut off at the face, so like halfway across the face, and like in the eyes, they've got like a line so that you can like clip their faces onto the character models. And they didn't get rid of his line. Like with all the others, they CG'd out the lines, but they didn't get rid of his line. I'm not sure why, but I still enjoyed it. Like,
which character is this?
It was because he was Russian. Bobinski, the Russian, played by Ian McShane.
Oh,
the mouse circus.
The circus guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was a bit of a oddly designed one. Very, like, slim
Yeah.
ligaments or extremities and sort of a round body.
A bit like
Yeah.
Dr. Eggman from Sonic.
Literally, yeah, like Dr. Eggman from Sonic. That's actually a perfect comparison. But yeah,
He's
he was.
like blue as well.
Yeah, he's Dr. Eggman's red, isn't he?
Skin coloured.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
He's like white, isn't he?
Yeah, Dr. Eggman.
He's got
is.
white skin. He just wears like red, doesn't he?
But I thought this movie was good after a while.
Mhm.
I don't know where I was going to go with that. I was going to say something, but then I forgot.
That's all right. I really like the other Bobinski. He's like, I don't know if you got this, but like he seems a lot larger in the other world. He seems like
Yeah.
really big because maybe they're like doing it from like the camera's sort of looking up at him, so he looks a bit more imposing. I just really enjoyed that, like sort of larger than life, because he's a very larger than life character. I love when he like in the real world, he's like trying to tell Coraline something that the mice have told him. So he's like, wait, Coraline, wait, and then he jumps off of the balcony, and she's like, oh god, she like puts like the hedge trimmers up above her head, and his balls like dangle like very slightly over the hedge trimmers. That was great. Really
Just
funny
what you
moment.
want in a child's movie, eh? A little bit of
there's a lot of-
castration didn't hurt anybody.
A lot of adult jokes in this.
Yeah.
That's why I think it works well for every sort of adults and children alike.
Yeah. So like for a lot of this movie, I was sitting there thinking, why the fuck was this made? So I didn't really know where this story was going. I was like, well, what's happening? And then, because it didn't give a backstory to who the mother originally was, or why she wanted Coraline as a child, why she needed her to survive, because when you meet her, she doesn't have a child, but she's alive. So I didn't really get why she needed one to survive if she's already been surviving. But like, I don't know. For me, it was the beginning part of this was very, I wouldn't say broken. I don't know. Maybe it's just because I don't watch these movies a lot. Like, I was just trying to figure out what was going on in it. But then yeah, by the end of it, I think it's pretty easy to understand. Like, the world was not what it seems, and like the cat says, or I don't know which character said it, but it's a world that was created specifically for Coraline, of what the other mother thought she deemed would be like an ideal perfect world, and tried to follow that way, and, like, obviously steal her soul, essentially.
Maybe if you watched it a second time, you'd like going in knowing like what they're going for and the setup and everything, you'd probably enjoy it a little bit more.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I definitely have to watch it a second time, and I probably will within like probably by the end of like February. I'd say I'd probably watch it again just to like get a grip on it really. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, I definitely didn't love it as much as I do now on like a first viewing, or even like a second or third viewing. But I've watched it so many times now, it just everything clicks with me. There's like, what was I going to say? Yeah, she meets the like the ghost children, and you understand that the bell dam, as they call her, has been sort of luring children in for, you don't really know how long, but perhaps for centuries, maybe just for a few years.
You know,
You
know she's been doing it for a while, because the angry kid character, his he says his aunt or his grandmother, her sister, has like gone missing or whatnot, and then you see her sister as a child in the other world,
Yeah.
or the other whatever it's called. So it's definitely been going on for like 50, 60 years. For like
at least.
yeah, at least. So like, it's obviously, and for me it was like, is it specifically to the house, or is it wherever the doll goes, this door is created that you can obviously pass through.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Mm.
I'm not entirely sure. I don't think it matters to the story that this is trying to
No,
tell,
no, of
but
course
maybe
not,
if they,
no.
like, maybe if they did like a spin-off, then they would like delve into that kind of thing.
Maybe we should.
But I don't know if I would want a spin-off, honestly.
Maybe we should
Sort of happy
petition
with
for
what we've
a
got.
Coraline. Fuck me. What am I trying to say? A Coraline team up with Wallace and Gromit.
Oh yeah,
That'd be a
that
good
would
one.
break cinema.
Yeah.
Maybe it's something they delve into a little bit more in the book because it's based off a book. So
Oh, is it?
Yeah, by Neil Gaiman. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. I don't think it's necessarily important, especially for this movie. I mean, like, no one's sitting there thinking, what's the doll? All this shit. Like, I think it's a very good self-contained movie that you don't really have to think much about the lore to be able to, like, enhance the story. I think the story is pretty good anyway.
Yeah. The doll is like how the other mother spies on her prey, I
Yeah.
guess. Because at the end, we sort of get this reveal that she's not just like a person with buttons for eyes. She turns into this like spidery type of being. So, and then like she turns the room into a spider's web. We sort of get, as the film goes on, each time Coraline goes into the other world, we get more of a spider type vibe from the mother, I think. Like, at the beginning, she's just like her mother with no neck brace and like buttons for eyes, and she looks a lot nicer and everything's a lot more vibrant. And she goes back a second time, she's wearing like a dress that sort of, at the back, is kind of reminiscent of that of like a spider. I don't know if you guys got that, but I guess I just...
yeah.
Nah,
Noticed
we've
that
got
a lot more.
spiders in our houses that wear dresses, so I could definitely make the correlation.
Yeah, it's just, it is reminiscent of that kind of design and that sort of shape. And then by the end, she's like, after she throws Coraline into the room with the ghost children, before that, she's like, sort of waiting for her to apologize. And then she sort of, I love the animation on this. She gets taller and taller and like thinner. So she sort of stretches out. And she's got like a lot more edges, a lot more, corners to her.
That's when you can sort of like, that's when I could sort of tell that it was more like spider influenced in a sense. Very big body, thin extremities. Obviously, the way she moves and shit like that. Just
Yeah.
be the next Spider-Man. She's making a cameo in Spider-Man 3.
Yeah. She's the next one. There's
And
like a
something we
scene
haven't-
where... Oh, go ahead, Chris.
I was going to say something we haven't brought out that I really love about this film is the music.
Yes.
I think it's really interesting and creative. They've got a French composer called Bruno Coulet, and the music's just very European, like very French sounding, and how like the instrumentation and the style of the music, and I think it's really creative and an interesting choice for the film. There's definitely like a circus sort of vibe to a lot of it that I really love, and obviously later on there's big circus element in there, so I think it's cool the way they represent that in the music.
Yeah, the music is fantastic. I love it. I really want it on vinyl, but they don't do it. It's all sold out. There's a lovely blue and red vinyl of this score. I really want it, but they don't do it anymore.
I definitely need
unfortunately.
to start paying attention to music more in films. I like focus. I'm trying to focus more on like noticing the acting and all the details of the film. That I just like sort of the majority of the films that we watch have phased the music out.
Yeah, there's obviously a lot to look for in any film, so you're never going to get the full experience type of thing where you notice every little detail on a first watch, or even in a second watch, you know. I love the use of music in this, though. It's very creepy, very fantastical. And they'd use like a French choir of like kids as well, that I think brings a very creepy vibe to it.
Yeah, and they're all like, they're singing gibberish, and I think it's really fitting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It reminds me of the part in Chris' song Mary Stair where he just starts talking shit in the background, and it just gives you that vibe, doesn't it? You know what part I'm on about, don't you, Chris?
Poetry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was a serious point as well. I wasn't taking the piss.
I think if this happened to an adult, the things that are happening to Coraline, they'd probably freak out. They probably wouldn't deal with it as well. But I do like that it taps into the mind of a child. You get that Coraline is very young. I never got the thought that, oh, this was written by an adult. It's just, it feels very natural to how a child would react.
Yeah,
they're sort of more, I guess, accepting of the improbable and the fantastical.
Well, you think about it. When she goes into the world in the first place, and like she sees this, like she sees her mum with buttons as eyes, making all this nice food in a house that is a lot nicer than the one she lives in. She was more than happy to just pie off the other lot and just stay here.
Yeah.
And I think, like you said, it definitely is something kids would do. Like,
yeah,
the whole stranger danger thing, like that happens. So I'm not comparing this film to people getting kidnapped, by the way. It's not what I'm doing. Just saying, they're very susceptible to change, and like Max said, like not understanding what's going on. So for her to just sort of like find something that suits her a lot better and something she thinks is ideal, like of course she's gonna go to it and just try and stay there.
That's how this whole thing works, though, is that the beldam knows this is what children want.
Yeah, she tries to.
If you show them a reality that's better than what they currently have, it's one that's more vibrant. They get like a lot of nice food and everything's more colourful. Like they have dinner in a dining room instead of like a table on the kitchen that's sort of permeated with a lot more darker tones. And like all these different fantastical objects, like they got like the gravy train running around the table, or like the chandelier that comes down and dispenses drinks. It's a lot of like lulling them into a false sense of security. So they don't really want to leave.
Don't know about you guys, but I obviously like Max said, there's a very big colour contrast between both worlds, should we say. One's dark and dull, one's light and vibrant. But it's like when Coraline offers like the mother the bet about her finding the souls and freeing her parents, or if she doesn't, she'll become like her daughter or whatnot, and stay in the world with her. I really liked the animation of the world breaking down around her as she was collecting these souls, and then when she collected them all, and it just sort of, the animation was just like everything just got concreted over and then just started disappearing. And then when she ran into the house and like the wallpaper was just peeling off the walls all around her. Very, very good animation as well.
Yeah.
That was great. I love that, seeing like the wallpaper peeling off.
Yeah.
There's like a scene where she's walking with the cat and they're talking about what the other mother wants. And the cat's like, well, we don't really know what she wants. Maybe she just likes something to eat. But it doesn't really... It sort of leaves that a bit ambiguous, so you can sort of put your own meaning into it. I do like that, especially with like a kids movie that's not trying to be completely for adults. You can, because it's like the fear of the unknown.
Yeah,
like kids, especially kids, would be a bit more scared of something they didn't really understand, than something that was like, yeah, here it is. She's a spider and she turns into a human, and then she kills kids or something. It's like, it's a bit more boring and not as fantastical. There's like, and obviously, like, I love when they're walking through the grounds, and then like the trees, we see the trees becoming a bit more square in their branches. They stop being like sort of as you'd expect a tree to be. They're sort of more rigid, more binary, and then they walk into like a void. And they say, and they get back to the house. It's like walk around the world. She only made what she knew would impress you.
Yeah, there's nothing else really other than the house, isn't there? Although, I really didn't like the line where she was like, how can you walk away from something and then walk back to it? Like, turn around. Literally, you can just turn around and walk back to it.
It was a walk around the world.
Yeah, I know what she was getting at. Like, I'm being nitpicky here, but it was just really funny when I heard that line. I was like, you could walk in like a semicircle and you'll end up back where you were. Well, not where you were, but the same thing.
It fits with the themes. It doesn't really matter.
Yeah, well.
I love the
Get a grip, kids.
The song the dad sings. Like the other dad, she gets into the other world, and he doesn't have a computer. He has a piano.
Yeah, I like that.
This piano plays me, and the gloves come out of the piano and go onto his hands, and he starts singing a song. That was a great song too.
I find it creepy. Like the part that I found creepy is when she goes back in I think it's like the second or third time, and she's asking where her friend is it YB,
Yeah.
where he is, and like the hands start controlling him, and he's like, oh, she didn't like the fact that he was looking sad, and the hands like start covering up his mouth, and then later on you see him, he's just like, I don't know, he's sort of very bloated, looks like he's gonna like explode, and
Yeah.
she's like, yeah, dragging him out. That was quite eerie, that part of the movie.
Yeah, it's very
I love that
creepy.
scene. It's really creepy.
Yeah, definitely.
He's like, he pulled a long face and Mama didn't like it. I was like, oh God. He like pulls his whole entire mouth down into a frown. It was so weird.
Yes.
Creepy. And then like YB tries to save her, the other YB. He's got like a chicken mask on, or like not a mask, but like an oven glove over his face. Takes it off. His mouth is sewn into a smile. It's that kind of stuff that I think would like terrify children. And it still really kind of gets to me on a visceral level.
Yeah. I'm going to show my nieces and nephews this film, and next time I see them frown, I'm just going to get a sewing kit out and scare the shit out of them.
It's kind of how a lot of like the classic like fairy tales and stuff, like the stuff written by the Brothers Grimm and stuff like that, like those really famous stories like Alice in Wonderland and Snow White, they're all incredibly dark originally, and I think this kind of captures that, because Disney obviously took a lot of those films and took out the darkness, just made them really happy and wholesome, but I think this film perfectly captures the darker elements, like understanding that kids like a bit of darkness sometimes.
There's also a lot of Shakespeare referenced. I think like Richard III, when like the kid's going down the staircase in the shop, he's like screaming, "My kingdom for a horse." That's from Richard III. And in the performance by Spink and Vorsible in The Other World, they're reading off a quote from Hamlet. The one that goes like, "What a piece of work is man." I forget how it goes. Yeah, there's a lot of Shakespeare in this, I think.
That's pretty cool. I don't even know who that is.
You don't know who William Shakespeare is?
Is he related to Britney Spears? No. Of course I know who he is. He's the guy that made
One
Macbeth.
of the greats. He sure did. I love like when she's doing like the game, and like she finds the ghost eyes, and like as soon as she picks it up, the world around her sort of turns grey. It's like this sort of crunching effect. It's sort of like kind of like ice in a way, and everything turns grey. I really enjoyed that. Just a lot of great technical qualities to the. I love the confrontation in the garden with the other dad, where she's trying to find the ghost eye, and he's like just really contorted into this weird pudgy shape. He's riding like this mantis mower thing, and like that's also like a tense and creepy, almost terrifying scene if you were like a child to watch that. And he's trying to like, he doesn't want to hurt her. He's like, "I'm sorry, she's making me do it," and like this weird, like low end voice type of thing. It's really creepy. He like hands her the eye as like he goes down under the water and dies.
Yeah, I think this whole film, like you said, it's just it is very creepy, mainly for children. If you were a kid watching this, it would be very, very chilling to watch, even for us. I wasn't scared, but I could definitely tell what parts I would be scared at if I was a kid.
Yeah.
Anyone else have anything to add?
No, I'm good.
Max, any final points on this wonderful movie that you've recommended?
I would just say that it's probably one of the best stop motion animated movies I've ever seen. This is my favourite stop motion animated movie.
Yeah.
I'm really a big fan of Henry Selick, who directed it. I think he gets a lot of like comparisons to like Tim Burton because he directed The Nightmare Before Christmas, which is like a Tim Burton story. And I think maybe if you are someone who didn't really know a lot about movies or whatever, and you go, you know who, to hazard a guess at who directed Coraline, maybe they'd say Tim Burton.
Yeah, that's
because it is sort of
that's
creepy kind of gothic style.
That's who I thought directed it, in all fairness.
Yeah.
Who you mentioned.
There we go.
What's the rating
This
system?
also came out the same I was just going to say, this also came out the same year as Fantastic Mr. Fox, which is another really great stop-motion film. It's like weird that these two incredible stop-motion films came out in the same year.
Is that the one with the orange fox?
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah. Is that the one that, like, everyone, like, memes about, like, being on drugs or something because it looks so weird?
Yeah, and it's really weirdly done.
Yeah. I've only ever seen memes of that movie.
Oh, I do want to mention like one final thing, which is like one of the final scenes where Coraline has to take the key into like the well. So she has this big sort of confrontation, and like YB comes down the hill, comes to save her from like the hand that's like this sort of metal spindly thing that's trying to get the key back. And then there's this great tracking shot that goes from the well up to it goes through the garden into the house and to the door, and the door's being like pounded on, and she's like, the other mother is screaming, she's like, don't leave me, I'll die without you. And yeah, it's just really, it's like spine chilling, it's like really anguished to hear it, it's like really pained expressions in the voice. So yeah, that was a fantastic scene, that was.
At least I'm not going to get terrified like I do when I watch Signs, so I'm happy about that.
Yeah.
Let's
All right,
say.
do you want to go to ratings?
Yeah, out of 10 buttons.
Let's do it.
Going basic, are we, Chris?
Yeah. Yeah, I loved this film. It's one of my favourite stop-motion films. Like Max said, Henry Selick's a great director. Apparently he's got a film coming to Netflix this year, so looking forward to that.
Nice.
Yeah, I'm going to give Coraline 9 buttons out of 10.
Ooh, very good, very good.
Epic. Yeah, as I've said, this is not only my favourite stop-motion animated movie, not only one of my favourite animated movies, but it's just one of my favourite movies ever. I could watch it a million times. I'm going to watch it until I die. It's so good. I never get bored of it. All the voice acting, great. I love Henry Selick's direction of it, and the set designs are gorgeous. The animation is fantastic. I'm going to give it 10 buttons out of 10. Skadoosh.
Very good. So 2 of the movies have got a 10 out of 10 so far, so pretty good. I'm pretty sure Chris would have given this a 10 out of 10 if there was scatting in it, so we were close.
Yeah,
or if he'd watched it again.
Yeah, if he watched it again. If he didn't wait
I've seen it like
2
6
years.
times.
Yeah, well, you never know.
Yeah, by default, this is my favourite stop-motion movie because I don't think I've seen any others, unless you count South Park as stop-motion, then this would be the second best stop-motion movie I've ever seen. Pardon?
Chicken Run.
I watched that when I was, like, over 12 years ago, mate. Like, I can't remember the film.
Yeah?
Then it still would be the second best movie I would have seen. Don't remember any of Chicken Run. Yeah, I'll agree with what you've both said. I enjoyed the film. The only thing I will say is I did find the first half pretty boring. Found myself looking at the time, hoping it would be over, but the second half really redeemed it, and I did like the film. So I'm gonna give it a 6. It'll have to be like a 6.9 to I'll go 7 out of 10, another 7, which is pretty good considering I don't ever watch these type of movies. So they're getting like these sort of upper echelon of these ratings. So they're pretty good. If it gets above a 6 from me, then you know it's good. So I don't like movies.
It's nice to delve into something that maybe you wouldn't expose yourself to otherwise.
I don't like movies, so I decided to do a movie podcast.
Oh yeah.
So that brings us on to the last recommendation, which is mine. So if you don't remember from last week, my recommendation was The Killing Joke. It's a Batman film based off the graphic novel of the same name. And it just basically follows the premise that the Joker. Wait, how do I say? The Joker just tries to show the Batman that all it takes is one bad day for anyone to go mad, And something that you says at the end of the film is that the Joker had one bad day, which is how he ended up being who he is, and Bruce Wayne, aka Batman, also had one bad day, which is essentially how both their lives got to where they were. Clearly, preface of the movie, in all fairness, nice and easy. What did you boys think of it?
I didn't like it. I thought it was bad. Thought it was a bad movie. I really was very bored for a lot of it, and I understand like the premise you put forward, where the Joker's sort of philosophy was that it only takes one bad day to turn into him. But I found that I got that same exact message done better in something like The Dark Knight.
Don't say Dark Knight.
And well, I just did. So yeah, that was like a lot better done with like Harvey Dent.
The Dark Knight's message was, with Harvey Dent, it was all it takes is one accident to turn you crazy. I thought you mentioned the message of the Dark Knight movie in general, from what the Joker was trying to say.
No. It's a thing that he tries to put forward.
Yeah.
And I think it was better done in The Dark Knight. Obviously, it's very hard to top The Dark Knight, but I just, this came out like, 8 years after The Dark Knight, and it's trying to do the same.
Nah. The thing
tackle
is,
that same theme.
The thing is, The Dark Knight was trying to do what the Killing Joke already had done, but in the graphic novel came out years before, or this whole premise of what the Joker's trying to put forward came about years before The Dark Knight. I think, like me and Chris said to each other, in terms of turning a graphic novel into an animated film, this is a pretty good one. I wasn't entirely surprised when you said you didn't like it, Max, because I think for me, especially, because I've read so much of the comics, it's just really good to see a graphic novel portrayed in an animated show really well. The beginning part of the film, not so much. Like Chris said, just there for runtime, pad out the runtime.
Yeah, I obviously reread the graphic novel just before watching the film, because it's not very long. It's like 40, 50 pages, I think. It took me like an hour to read it. And I loved the graphic novel. I've always been a huge fan of it. And I don't think they do a terrible job adapting it. But there's just something about it. I just don't think it handles the source material quite as well as it could have done. And I think a big part of that is literally just that the first half of the film is so bad that it just puts you in a sour mood for the rest of it, that everything you just kind of, nothing they do can kind of redeem it after that.
Nah. This is the thing that I didn't like about the first time. When I watched this movie, I did not understand what the fuck was going on the beginning of this movie, because I was like, who the fuck are these guys? This is not the Killing Joke. Killing Joke is a story about Batman and the Joker. The Joker doesn't show up until halfway throughout the movie. So when I originally watched this, I was like, this makes absolutely no sense. Then when it got into the actual story, you're like, okay, fair enough. Now, there's flashbacks woven in with the story of how the Joker got his origins. The only thing that I do not like about the Killing Joke is that every other issue that you watch, that you read of Batman, the thing with the Joker is he never has an origin story. Like he says in this movie, and I do not understand why they put this line in the movie, is when he's on about he likes having the past that he does because it's multiple choice. I really did not understand why that was in there, because they only ever gave one backstory to him in this movie. In The Dark Knight, he continuously changes his backstory, so you never really know what actually happened. And even then, the backstory that he gives in that movie isn't true. So it seems like a line that they just threw in there for the sake of it, and it's just something that always took me out of it. But throughout the movie, it's on the basis of it's the Red Hood. The Joker's wife dies, then he gets thrown into a vat of acid, which is why he hates Batman, because he blames it on him, and then he just becomes this insane person. After I watched the movie, I really didn't understand why they didn't just take that backstory, expand it, flesh it out a little bit more, put that at the beginning of the movie, and then go in to where Batman goes to Arkham to find the Joker's escaped. That would make a lot more sense than just having a half of a movie that has no relevance to the graphic novel, to the source material, to the movie itself. It's just there for runtime. It doesn't even enhance this. It shows you a little bit of the relationship between Batman and Batgirl, but even then, after the Joker shows up and it gets into the Killing Joke, Barbara Gordon's not even in the movie. She's only ever there in pictures to mess with Jim Gordon, trying to get him to snap.
Yeah. Can we talk about that for a moment? Batgirl. I hated her. I bloody hated Batgirl. She was such a nothing character. And then she like gives up her suit and she's like, and then I never wore it again. And for like halfway through the movie, she's like, and then I never wore it again. And I'm like, okay, so what the hell good are you? Like, you're nothing. You're not such a nothing character. And what makes it worse is that they treat her like this sort of object, like this, like they make a villain like seem bad, but all they know how to do that is to like make him misogynistic. He's always calling her baby and like making like weird sexist jokes to her. I'm like, that's not good character development, man. That's just like sloppy and cheap. I don't
and when
like
you find out that it has absolutely no relevance to the rest of the actual movie that the film is the source material's based on, or the other way around, it's just like, why? You could have taken Batwoman out of this film completely, because you don't need Batwoman in this film. You need Barbara Gordon. That's it. Because it's not Batwoman gets like put in this awful situation, and then her dad, because I don't think her dad even knows that she is Batwoman, or whatever you want to call her. You could take that character out of the film completely, and just have, because if you're watching this movie, you have an idea of the lore of this universe. You know who Barbara Gordon is. You know she's Batgirl, and then obviously you know that her dad is Commissioner Gordon. That's all you need. The whole Batgirl thing just really, and like, you could say, oh, it's to give Batman a bit of motivation, and he doesn't really need that, because it's established that him and Commissioner Gordon are good friends in this universe. So you don't really need him to try and take revenge for like Barbara being shot. And then it goes on to the whole like, what's the phrase they use in movies, like women being fridged or something, to to enhance the story of a male character. That's just basically what
they basically
what
just turn her into a sexual object.
Yeah, and like it's just such a disservice to how good the film could have been, because the graphic novel was so good. Did you guys like? Did you like the sex scene between Batman and Batgirl? Did you guys like that? Do you know what? When I first saw that, I laughed, because in the comics that does happen, and it's expanded upon but in the comics, in the comic run that's from, she like bones Batman, then she gets with who's the Damian? No, who's not Damian Wayne? Who's the other one? Is it Jason Todd? I think she ends up like sleeping with Jason Todd. Then she gets pregnant,
she
and then
sleeps
Batman
with one
says,
of the Robins.
and then Batman says, like, he says, "Oh, you're gonna have to tell him," and then instantly he goes and tells him himself. But he's like, "Yeah, this kid could be mine," and it's like, what?
But in the movie, that's such a terrible, terrible scene. They're like wrestling or something, because like she's like upset that he doesn't take her seriously or something. She wants to go on a case, but he doesn't want her on a case, so she like hits him, and then like they roll around on the floor, and then like she ends up on top of him, and their faces are like inches away from each other, and I'm just like, kiss, kiss, and then they kiss, and then they have sex. Great.
I'm pretty sure.
And what did it matter? No, it didn't even matter. It didn't.
But I'm pretty sure he's like 20 years older than her or something. It's really...
Yeah, it was weird.
It's really creepy.
She's like a teenager at school.
No, I wouldn't say she's a teenager. She's early 20s.
Yeah, she's in college.
Even so, I mean, yeah.
Yeah, I find it
Mate,
just
yeah.
so...
Batman's not a nonce, Max. Bat
No.
nonce.
2 years younger though, and maybe he would be.
Bat nonce. Doesn't get the bat credit card anymore. He gets bat jail
No.
for being a bat nonce.
Yeah, I find it so weird that in a story that basically exists to kind of humanize the Joker, a character who previously we just thought was just complete evil and we don't really understand at all, they kind of take the character of Batgirl or Barbara Gordon, they just kind of remove any complexity or humanity that she has, and they just turn her into the most cliched female character, like only there to serve the males and be there for like a sexual object for the villains to glare at. And I feel like it just kind of ruins the whole film for me.
Yeah.
And I think that was kind of the general consensus when it came out. Like the reason I hadn't watched it before is because when it came out, there was so much like criticism and like backlash because of that whole section. And yeah, watching it, I completely understand why.
Yeah, like I said, they could have made the film 100 times better by just putting the Joker's backstory before it, flesh it out a little bit, then go straight into where the actual Killing Joke picks up from. Would have made a lot more sense than just giving us a nonsensical storyline. Doesn't make sense. When you read the comics, it's more acceptable for this to happen because Barbara Gordon loses the ability to walk, so she becomes Oracle, but then she gets given an implant, which gives her use of her legs again. And that's a whole story in itself, which if you watch the TV show Arrow, when that was out, the character Felicity on there basically took that character arc of Batgirl in the TV show. But this is the issue with adding that part of the this is the issue of adding that part into this film, is that you don't get anything else after it. It's a self-contained... This can be a self-contained story, so you don't have any concept of what happens after and the lore before and after. So, like, adding a situation in there where you need to understand what happens afterwards to understand why it's happened there is yeah. But I think this is one of the stories in the sort of DC comic, especially the Batman run of comics, that is regarded as like some of the best storytelling for Batman itself, because it's one of those stories that, like, I will say I like Marvel more than I like DC, and the DC films that have come out, live action ones now, are shit. And I always think that the DC comic characters are a lot more boring and stale than the Marvel ones. But I will say that in terms of like character relationships, I mean, in the comics you've got Superman and Lex Luthor, you've got Iron Man and fuck me, what's his name? Guy with the 10 rings. What's the enemy in Iron Man 3, Chris?
The Mandarin.
Mandarin, that's it. You've got Captain America, Red Skull, you got Thor, Loki, all that sort of stuff. I think Joker and Batman are the most iconic because their relationship is just such a good story told between them, and it's a tale of like how, like he says in the movie, it's a never-ending battle where one of them is eventually going to kill the other one. That's definitely how it's going to end, and that's another thing that was brought up in the Dark Knight, sorry. That was very good about their relationship when the Joker says it's an unstoppable force hitting an immovable object. And this story just helps like enhance that aspect of their relationship. The other thing that I didn't like about this movie was the ending. In the comic, graphic novel, Chris, you've just recently read this. In the graphic novel, it's implied that Batman kills the Joker, but you never know because you only ever see they're not outside either. They're like in a tunnel. Batman's been stabbed. He's got hold of Joker's neck, but in the comic, they're both like the panels are still showing both of them laughing. In the film, you tell that he killed him because Joker stops laughing and Batman carries on. And I think they took that away from the graphic novel as well. That it was such a ambiguous ending. You didn't really know what happened. And in this, you kind of do.
I thought he just ran away, to be honest. Just fades to black and then he stops laughing.
No.
I'm like, maybe he just ran away.
No, Batman killed him.
But that's what I'm talking about. This movie has such bad writing. I hated the script for it. There's like, do you remember like the scene where Batgirl is beating up that guy? She's like beating him to a bloody pulp. And that's another thing. I'll get into this in a minute, but he's like, must be that time of the month when she's like getting like so angry at him. She's like, you ruined everything. I'm like, gee, shut up, man. It's so bad. It's so bad. There's, oh my God.
I wanted you to watch this because this was one of the better stories within the Batman lore. I see that that's obviously not gone down well.
Well, maybe the story is good, but the storytelling is not.
Forget the first half of the movie, because that is not part of the Killing Joke. The Killing Joke is the second half.
I don't care. It was in the movie. I watched it. You can't tell me.
I'm not asking.
Yeah, okay. I'm going to recommend this movie.
No,
but it's discount everything.
I'm not
you see
asking you to discount the whole beforehand. Look at the second half and judge that as the movie. Obviously, still rate the whole. Rate the whole thing.
Yeah, I didn't like the second half either. I don't think that it was a good dynamic between the Joker and Batman. I thought it was boring and like plain. And like maybe if this was like the first Batman thing you'd ever consumed, you'd think it was like whatever. Like, oh, these guys are iconic. Really, it's boring. Like there's a confrontation at the end where the Joker like tries to physically fight Batman. He like sprays acid on him, and then he like beats him to the ground. I'm like, that's not what Joker is, man. He's not like.
Yes, it is.
He gets around Batman because
that is completely who it is. You are judging it based on the films that you've seen, the live action ones. In the comic, the Joker always fronts up against Batman, and he always has these wacky ways of doing it because it's.
But he doesn't.
Yeah, he does.
He doesn't have wacky ways of doing it. He like turns a room upside down, then he starts hitting him with like furniture. It's boring. It's like he's not stronger than Batman.
But
there's no way he's going to be able to beat him.
Yeah, but it's not the point. It's that the Joker just continuously does it, knowing that he is no match for him. But it's not him physically damaging him. It's what he says in between the fights that just it's the Joker's more of he gets inside Batman's head sort of thing. But yeah, in the comics, the graphic novels, the comics, the Joker has always taken on Batman using. That's where he gets the whole like fucking pies in the face, the acid stuff. With the guns that are just wacky as well. I mean, does it in the video games?
But it's not good. It's not interesting in this movie, is what I'm trying to say. I didn't get their dynamic, at least not what I've come to expect from like the Batman things that I've consumed. Maybe you guys like the dynamic.
But you've just watched the films, haven't you?
Sure.
Yeah. That I think you'd have a different opinion if you read a lot of the comics, but I think that's a thing with.
But that's the thing I'm trying to say is that I shouldn't have to go into like all these other things to make this movie better. It should just be a good movie.
I'm not gonna lie. I thought you had read some already.
No.
Oh, yeah. Fair enough.
What I will say is that I love the graphic novel, but I don't think it really translates into a film quite as well because of kind of everything that Max said. I do think, as an actual film, I don't think it's quite as interesting as it is when you actually read it. And I think the execution especially isn't that great. I think the animation kind of, although it's decent, they don't really capture the like 80s noir feel that the comics have. I think they tried to modernize it a bit too much, and I don't think it really works as well. I do like some of the voice acting, though.
Who played like them?
Mark Hamill's in it.
It's got like Mark Hamill.
Yeah, most of the voice cast are from Batman the Animated Series, which is like one of my favourite TV shows, my favourite adaptation of Batman. So Mark Hamill was Joker. There was also Kevin Conroy, who plays Batman, but I don't think he's quite as good in this as he is in a lot of the other Batman stuff that he's done. There's just something about his performance in this. I don't think he's really that passionate about it. He sounds kind of like he's bored.
It is quite flat.
Which I don't really understand, because apparently he loves playing Batman, and like he hadn't done it in a few years, and he was like, if they give me the role, I'll 100% do it in a heartbeat. But he still doesn't really sound like he wants to be there.
Maybe they just used all the wrong lines, all the wrong takes of the lines.
Yeah, maybe.
Well, I don't know really, because Batman isn't like a very charismatic character in this. He's very like, whatever. Like he has sex with Batgirl and then like doesn't call her.
Here's
He's like, I gotta do this on my own.
the
Like,
portrayal
shut
of
up.
Batman in this movie, just how he acted, how he spoke, how he sounded. It was just very it was almost like he was trying to play the role of Batman from the Flashpoint movie, which is a much more like, not the Batman you'd expect.
That's a better adaptation, like animated adaptation of a comic.
I should have chose Flashpoint, shouldn't I?
Maybe.
There's a lot more violence in that movie, and no one fucks, so...
Yeah, that's a problem I had with this movie, where it was like the violence was like a product of the rating that it had. It's a 15 rated movie, but I don't really feel like it needed to be, apart from like, there's some blood in there.
Probably the sex
and
scene.
there's some sex that they don't show. Yeah, I guess. It's like adult themes, I guess, but it's not. I sort of like got thinking about like something that's a little bit similar, but not really. It's got like a 15 rating, like the Daredevil show, which I think utilizes its 15 rating a bit better to showcase violence and darker
Some
themes.
guy gets his head caved in with a door on that show. It's gruesome.
Yeah.
I thought that...
And that's great.
Yeah,
that's what I love to see.
I thought that show was an 18 in all fairness, because Punisher's an 18, and I thought they were the same.
No, it's a 15.
Damn. Well, if you can get away with that in 15 rated movies, why no one else getting their head caved in with doors in more 15 rated movies?
Exactly. Because that's very well directed and very well scripted. And this is not.
You guys excited for Daredevil to show up in Spider-Man 3?
Oh, yeah.
Pretty sure he's...
For all
pretty
of them.
sure it was his
Along
name,
with
Charlie
every other
Cox. I'm
character in history.
pretty sure Charlie Cox has signed his contract to show up in the movie already.
Yeah, they haven't like confirmed it, but it's like heavily rumored. Like people that are like
apparently-
insider sources have said.
Yeah, apparently Tobey Maguire's finally signed a contract to make a cameo in it. Andrew Garfield has.
Yeah, he was asking for like 20, 30 million at one point just for a small cameo.
Fucking hell. I'd have been like, no, we'll just put someone else in a get up and just dub your voice in.
Probably be cheaper to
good luck.
literally rewrite the entire script and cut him out.
Yeah. Just imagine that. Like, you could be part of the MCU in a little cameo. You can make history in the movie by having all the live action Spider-Mans in one movie, and it's like, nah, fuck off, Toby.
Did you guys like the Joker's backstory? Like, first of all, I didn't like how it was like shown. It's like very like dark sepia tones. There's another thing I don't think this movie does very well, is like the contrast to the darker color palette. It didn't really gel with me, and it sort of looked like the animation was kind of like something I expect more from like the new Scooby-Doo show or something, but not as bright.
Like I said, that Joker backstory is one of many. It's not the canonical version of the Joker. The Joker, even in the comics, to this date, there is no definitive backstory of the Joker. You have no idea if anything that has been told is true. As one of the backstories, it's one of the better ones when you think of the philosophy of the Joker as a character, how he tries to turn people by just making them have essentially one bad day. And again, it's echoed in The Dark Knight that even the best of people can turn at the drop of a hat, given the right circumstances. I don't like how this movie did it.
It falls into the crazy juice.
Don't like it.
It falls into the juice, the Joker juice, and he falls out, and he's crazy.
No, he falls into a vat of acid, and then which makes him snap max. It's the mental breakdown of having a shit life, and then your wife and child dying, and then everything's taken away from you, and you've been framed for this crime that you didn't do, and Batman's after you, and you think he's and then you just snap.
Yeah, he did the crazy juice.
The thing,
he's crazy.
The thing is, though, the Red Hood is a mantle that Jason Todd takes up at one point in the comics, and it looks nothing like this Red Hood.
Yeah, it was bad design, bad character design. Didn't like it. He looked like a Tic Tac.
A red Tic Tac.
I liked it a lot more in the comic, although it's very similar design.
I can't wait to recommend this movie again next time we get another animated series. Actually, my next recommendation is going to be this movie again. I'm just going to keep recommending it until Max gives it a 10 out of 10.
Well, that's too bad. You're not allowed to do that.
Where are these rules? We have no written rules.
I have spoken. I have spoken.
I'm being impeached.
You're just trying to prove that if you watch something enough, you'll go insane and like it.
But he doesn't
Just
need
like
to go
the Joker
fucking
would do
insane. You
himself.
hear his voice messages.
Does anyone have anything else to say about this film?
I don't like that they strip Commissioner Gordon naked, and then he's led away by these like naked monkey children.
Okay.
That upset me.
Max just said he don't like seeing nude men, so homophobic.
Right.
What are we going to rate it out of 10?
We'll do. Trying to think now. 10 little monkey men, as Max just said.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, we already know Max is going to give it like a 2.
I like a lot of the animated Batman stuff. Like I said, Batman, the animated series, is one of my favourite shows. And I think there's been plenty of good animated Batman movies, like Mask of the Phantasm's incredible, and their adaptation of The Dark Knight Returns is really good as well. But I don't think this is anywhere near as good, partly because first half is completely different and it sucks, and I don't think the execution is quite as good as the original comic. So I'm going to give this 4 little monkey men out of 10.
Yeah, I think I've made my feelings on this movie crystal clear. I did not like it. I'm not going to watch it again. I guess I enjoyed some of the stuff with the Joker,
I'm open
but
to
not most of it.
the recommendations that this guy gives me.
Yeah, I was open to it. I'd never seen an animated Batman movie before, apart from like the Lego Batman movie, so I was excited.
Not the same.
Yeah, so I was excited to delve into it. It's not the same. It's a lot more mature, but maybe it doesn't handle its rating very well. I didn't understand why there were so many kangaroos in the theme park court. That was weird.
It's a theme park, Mac. You never know. It could just be an Aussie-themed theme park.
So many kangaroos, man. Why were they there? Did they have like people voices? Did they have voices? We don't know. Maybe the Joker he was like, I want kangaroos in this court. Give me more kangaroos.
If I can employ you to like watch any other Batman animated movie, please just try and watch Flashpoint. It is much more violent, earns its rating, and just the story is a lot more cohesive than this film.
Yeah, I will say, this does not turn me off from other Batman animated movies. It doesn't. I'm sure
I'll
it's just like a one-off thing
Flashpoint.
that doesn't really gel with me.
I'll recommend Flashpoint in the next few months.
Sure.
And then you can compare that to this.
Yeah. Not enough kangaroos for my liking. 3 little monkey men out of 10.
I like the movie somewhat. It's got a lot of flaws. I think it's got a spot with me because it's just based off such an iconic run or graphic novel in the Batman ethos, you would say. But taking into consideration all of the bad stuff that it did, the unnecessary half of the film that had no relevance to the actual story itself, it took away. The very broken flashback backstory of the Joker did not work for me. Mark Hamill is probably one of the shining lights in this film. Very good voice acting on his part. And the sex scene was
Yeah.
it was a scene.
Made your willy hard.
I did have to pause the movie, in all fairness. That's only because I had to go for a poo, so paused the movie and went for poo. I'm gonna give it a 5. I think they could have they could have been so much more done to enhance this story, but they didn't do it, and I think the movie suffered from it. But I would like to change my rating on Coraline to a 3 now too.
Why?
Because you gave this a 3.
Okay, nothing to do with the actual movie. We'll keep it at a 7. And now we reach the end of the episode. We've got some recommendations for next week.
Yeah, go on, Chris.
Take it away, Chris.
What are you saying? What you got for us this week?
I got a long list I'm going to pick from at random. It's on the wheel. Let's see
only pick
where it
one.
takes us.
It's on the Wii.
Oh,
Yeah, Nintendo. He's playing Wii Fit.
I can't pick 50 different films for us to watch.
You can pick 50 Shades of
No,
Grey
I
if you
suppose
want.
so.
Oh, nice.
If you like.
Well, there we go. My pick's not 50 Shades of Grey. I'm going to pick a film I've not watched.
I'd be concerned of why that was on your list if that did come up.
Yeah, I'm going to pick a film I've not watched, but I've wanted to watch for a while. It's on YouTube for free, so we don't have to pay to
Lovely.
watch it at all. It's an anime film directed by a director called Satoshi Kon called Paprika.
Oh, I used
nice.
some of that in my chicken the other night.
Nice. Supposedly, this is a film that Christopher Nolan ripped off for Inception, so it should be an interesting film experience.
Wow. I can't wait. Yeah, I've been meaning to see that.
Yeah, he
I
did a
love
film
Inception,
called
so I
Perfect
don't
Blue, which I
know.
love. So.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right,
Paprika.
my recommendation is a movie from 1999, directed by one of the greats, Stanley Kubrick, called Eyes Wide Shut.
Oh, yeah.
I've seen this
Love
one
Eyes
time
Wide Shut.
before. Yeah, seen it once before. I really want to get back into it. It sort of really left a mark with me, so I've got the Blu-ray. So easy peasy. That's my recommendation.
So my recommendation, I don't know if this is on YouTube, Netflix, Amazon Prime, but I was watching a review of Uncut Gems yesterday, and Chris Stuckman talking about some of the various films that are good in the catalogue of Adam Sandler. I think he said there's a film called Good Times. Is that a...
Good times.
Times.
Yeah? Is that one, Chris?
It's not an Adam Sandler film, but it is a film.
Is it
It's got
from
Robert
the director?
Pattinson in it. Yeah, it's from,
from the
Safdie
directors?
Brothers.
Oh, good
Yeah.
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm looking at a 1974 sitcom called Good Times. That is not the same thing.
But yeah, he recommended that, and then I like the Blink-182 song, Good Time. No, the All Time Low song, sorry, Good Times. So I was like, that sounds good. I've never seen it. I have no idea what it's about.
Good
but
time.
it's been,
It's on
Sure.
Netflix.
yeah, it's been given a
Yep.
good rating by some movie reviewers on YouTube. So I was like, yeah, I'll go
And
in
they-
completely blind this time and go over a recommendation that I've never seen before. So not even I don't even know if I'm going to like it.
Wonderful.
Have you
I've got the DVD.
have
Funnily
you
enough-
guys seen it?
Funnily enough, I was actually... Yeah,
Yeah.
we've both seen it. I was actually going to recommend it originally, but then I changed
were
my
you?
mind.
Ooh,
Oh well,
Yeah.
how about
look
that?
at that. Maybe
Wonderful.
you passed it on to me. Maybe it was
Maybe I did.
reverse
I used
psychology.
my mind powers.
A great set of movies to watch next week.
I've completely forgotten every single one of them apart from mine.
Paprika, Eyes Wide Shut, and Good Time.
I don't think
Nice.
you ever remember any of them. You like message us like 3 days later, like, what was the recommendations? Where can I watch it?
Yeah. Just always forget about it. Yeah.
Yeah, I just usually I like when you send the recommendations over, I screenshot it and I'm like, right, I'll keep hold of this. And then because I always save like 10 memes a day, and then like whenever stuff gets sent to me on WhatsApp, it just automatically saves. I end up losing the picture, and I'm like, oh, what are the recommendations again?
Well, there we go. Thank you for listening to episode 574 of the Sunday Movie Marathon.
Oh,
We'll see you
Max,
next
I
week.
don't think we'll ever get to 574. Not if we're only doing one a week. If you up it to once every day, and we just watch 3 films every day,
Yeah, I don't want to do that.
think of the amount of whap we'll get.
Thank you for listening, and we'll see you next week.
Goodbye.